Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Crypto Watch. Right. Hello, everyone. Yes. So if you're tuning in right now, you're joining me live right now, do tap on the like button so that I know that you are live here with us. Right. So yes, for today, right, the topic for today will be, which is the next Bitcoin, right? Which coin is going to be the next Bitcoin, right? So I'm sure all of you will be interested to know which coin might be the next to run, right? And whether there is still room to grow for this coin. So yep, without further ado, let me delve into this topic for today. Yep, but before I start the session proper, if you're new joining me on the very first time, let me first give you a very brief introduction of myself. Right, so I'm the trade engineer, or TTE for short. Right, so I have about 6 to 7 years of trading experience. Right, I've traded numerous instruments such as stocks, futures, forex, and cryptocurrency. Right, so I help numerous aspiring traders unlock their best trade, right, to unleash the trading potential within them. And all this can be done using some simple to use yet effective techniques. Yep. So before I start off as well, let me give some disclaimers, right? So the accuracy information here is ensured as far as possible. There will be no responsibility taken for any loss of inconvenience created by any omission or error. The ideas I suggested here and examples I use, right, are just for reference and educational purposes only. The presentation contents today are not intended in any way to give trading advice or recommendations to buy or sell any cryptocurrency coin. And me, the trade engineer, shall not have any liability for any loss or expense whatsoever related to the trading decisions undertaken by the audience. Last but not least, all copyrights reserved. And with that out of the way, let me delve into the topic proper. Right. So is this the next Bitcoin? Right. So which coin do you think I'm talking about? So I give you a hint, right? If you've been watching the previous videos, right, it was mentioned in the recent video by the safe investor, right? So here's the hint, right? If you watch the video, right, he has mentioned this coin. Yep, and actually the answer is also on this slide, right? So it's pretty small, but it's actually crypto.com, otherwise known as Crows, right? It has changed the name. Its ticker symbol is now CRO, right, or Chronos for short. Yep, so this is the coin we are going to talk about for today. So we look at the market capitalization, right? So I just took this from investing.com, right? The top 20 coins, right, currently based on market capitalization. And we look down the list, we find that Chronos is actually one of the top 20. In fact, it's ranked in the top 18, right? So it's pretty high ranking, yep. And it has the potential of going far. So we go look at the price chart, right, in further detail, right? So this is the price chart for Chronos, right? Previously known as crypto.com, right? So you can see, right, that there is a significant price change quite recently, right, especially during this period. So we just look at let's put some prices, right, to the price chart. So I started, when I started trading, on the 7th of Jan 2019, right? And a 0.0181, very small amount, right? And then over the years, right, in 2 years, right, actually slightly more than 2 years, right, because it's the end of year, 22nd of November 2021, right, it actually rose spectacularly all the way to the high of 0.9644, right? That is spectacular. In fact, if we calculate the math behind it, right, that is about a 5,200% increase, right? So that's a spectacular growth for this coin. But ever since then, right, ever since it hit this peak on the 22nd of November, right, it has since pulled back, right, to a current price of about 0.4086 currently. So that's about a 60% pullback, right? 60% decrease in prices, right? So the question here, right, is what are some of the news behind this, right? What are some of the news driving this coin? So if we take a look at this some previous articles, right? So I've taken this from a website called bravenewcoin.com, right? So we look at some of the fundamental reasons why what's driving the growth of this coin, right? So we can see that actually this crypto.com, right, is actually a payment and cryptocurrency platform, right, that users empower users to buy, sell, and pay with crypto, right? So that is very interesting, right? Because it's creating a whole new payment and cryptocurrency platform, right? It actually also encompasses digital asset exchange, right? A point of sale Visa card, right? That's actually their selling point, right? Payment services, borrowing and lending services, solutions, right? And even a smart contract platform, blockchain, right? So this coin is also the crypto.com, this platform native token, right? And you get to enjoy many perks, right? You get to enjoy discounted trading fees, higher core cashback, right? So all these are perks that entices people to join this platform and use this token, right? So Crow is also the asset, right? A settlement asset on this blockchain, right? And Crow also supports this recently released EVM, right? Compatible Chronos chain, right? So recently, right? If you're following the news for Crow, right, there was also a massive advertising campaign, right? So actually that drove the price surge recently to the highs of 0.9644 in 2021, the end of 2021. So because some advertising, some branding of this coin, yep. So it actually led to a mega rise for this coin. Yep. But as what the article states here, right, there is that correction, that pullback, right, when it's attributed to a few reasons, right, like profit taking, right, because there's reason quite a lot. It's 5,200% since it first launched, right. So there is some profit taking. Some people want to take the money off the table, right, and there is the whole global concern, right, that affects not just this coin but every other coins as well as stocks in the world, right? So there's rising global inflation, the geopolitical tensions like Russia-Ukraine war, right? So all these are some reasons that were touted for the pullback, right? So we look at the history, right? Some brief history of this company, right? So as what mentioned just now, it's a payment gateway Visa card-based solution, right? So previously, right, we look back at the history. Actually, there was another token, right? Before that, it was called MCO. Before it actually rebranded to Crows, right? So yeah. So after that, it rebranded to Crypto.com, and now known as Crow, right? It began shipping its signature Visa debit card, right? And it launched the blockchain, right, with that Crow token. So it offers crypto to crypto exchange services, and it tries to make itself unique, right, in terms of centralized crypto borrowing and lending services, right? Try to expand out its services and try to compete with other companies, other lending services like Celsius and BlockFi, right? And in fact, in 2019, it also started shipping to the US, so it started expanding into different markets. And in 2020, right, it also has numerous growth opportunities, right? It actually launched its non-custodial DeFi wallet, right, and its new non-custodial swap capabilities, right? And its trademark, Crypto.com Visa card just became more available among the different regions. And just last year, right, Crypto.com or Crows, right, it actually launched its NFT as well. So NFT is a hype nowadays, right? So launching it also gives it some bandwidth and some growth opportunities, right? So it actually basically designed to compete with the incumbent leader, which is OpenSea. Yep, and branding, right? So it actually it tried to make inroads into branding, right? With tie-ups with various known people, or even soccer, right? Serie A. So right, if we look at let's say some of the cards, right? That is affiliated to Crow, right? All the Visa cards, right? And you also have these all these perks, right? So you can actually buy, rare collectibles, NFT, shop for pay gift cards. All these, are just perks, right? That you basically entice people to sign up and use the Crow token, right? So if we look at some of the trends with over time, right? The interest over time. So over here, right, we have 3 different coins, right? Crypto.com, Chainlink, and Litecoin. So you can see, right, previously in the past, right, this early 2021, Crypto.com or Crows, right, was actually languishing behind, right? You're actually below Litecoin, yeah, somewhere in the middle. Then at the end, right, at the end of 2021, it actually spiked, right? It became so much higher than the other 2 coins. And even to today, right, it's actually garnering a lot more interest than the other 2 coins, right? So its interest has been expanding. Its interest has been increasing, right? So that's certainly a good sign, right? If you're thinking of buying this coin, right? And it's usage wise, right? It has become more it has become more users are using it, right? So in 2021, it actually announced that it crossed the 10 million user mark, right? And they're also forecasting a 10 times revenue growth, right? And this crypto.com mobile app is also gaining popularity. It's actually now the 10th most popular free financial app, right, in the US. So all these are very exciting news because it basically shows that there is potential for growth for this coin. Right. So there are other reasons of whether this coin can actually explode in popularity, right? So here in this article, it also states that it actually aims to massively scale the DeFi ecosystem, right? With the pod dApps, right, from Ethereum and EVM compatible chains. Right, users can also enjoy faster, cheaper, safer transfers, right, of Crow and other coins using Chronos. Yep, and there are already a sizable amount of assets, 2.34 billion to be exact, right, logged into the Chronos chain, and this Chronos has actually risen to become the 10th largest DeFi platform, right? And branding, right, as I mentioned just now, this was the basically what caused the hype, the spike at the end of 2021. Right. So in conclusion, right, actually, this article basically gives quite a good conclusion of some of the benefits and concerns for this coin. Yeah. So basically, right, it has built a one-stop shop for retail crypto users like you and me, right? So this company is also one of the most touted and used platforms in crypto now. Yep. But there's some concerns here, but because they're underperforming the rest of the coins in this article's opinion, right? So they attributed it to that basically that transition from the MCO token to the Chronos token, right? And the usability of it also raises questions, right? Because during high traffic, it might be prone to crashing. Yeah. But of course, they did mention some things that you can look forward to, as what I mentioned earlier on when I shared, right? So one thing is that they are aggressively rebranding themselves, right? They are doing a lot more marketing, right? And there are new features, right? So like the recently EVM compatible Chronos chain, as well as the NFT, right? The hype of MFT, they are also touching base on it as well. So all these, can boost the value of this Chronos coin, right? And there is, great potential, right, for this Chronos coin, right? But this is basically based on some of the fundamental reasons that given in this news article. Right. So if you are at this point, right, if you are loving what I'm sharing so far, right, do tap on that love button or tap on that like button, right, so that I know that you are finding value so far from my sharing. Yep. So without further ado, let me go through some of the common concerns that you might have, right, for this coin, right? So I think some of you might have this concern that the price is too high, right? It's risen 5,200%, right? Is it too late to enter, right? Yeah, and that's the second question, right? Is it too late, right? am I too late to the game? Should I actually wait? Or you might have a question, right? Because it has pulled back 60%, right? So there's no stopping it from dropping further, right? It might even drop another 60%, right? So is it really reaching the bottom, right? Or is there, are we going to see further scale down in prices? And last but not least, right, what is the future, right? We always want to know what is the future of the coin, right? We want that crystal ball. We want to know what is it like going forward for this coin, right? So if there's a good opportunity, we probably want to buy and hold, right, for investment. Yeah, or for those traders out there, you might want to just get a good trade out of this coin. So let me go basically screenshot this article, right? That basically gives a price prediction for various analysts, right? So these are taken from currency.com, right? And what is suggested right here is that it's actually very bullish on the coal price prediction, right? You can see from Wallet Investor, right? It actually projected that this coal price will actually hit a staggering 1.107, right? That's even higher than the historical high, right? And in 5 years, it's projecting a $3, like 357, right? And this not, this analyst not the only one that is giving such bullish prices, right? The second analyst, Gulf Capital, right? It actually predicted that it also could break the $1 barrier, right, in 1 year time. In fact, for 2022, right? And in 1 year time is expected to reach 1.04, and 5 years is even more bullish, right? It's actually projecting 5.35. That's even higher than 3.57 here, right? Digital coin price, right? This third analyst actually says that this coin should be worth 0.63, right? It's a bit lower, right? But still higher than the current price now. Yep, end of 2022, 2023 is about the same price. And 2025 is a bit, more more muted in its projection, right? It's projecting 0.92, slightly lower than historical high, right? And the last but not least, right, the fourth one, price prediction, right? Yep, it's the only one that make a prediction for a price of Chronos after 2030. And wow, look at that. It's projecting 17.25. Wow, 17.25. That is like, oh my god. Now it's only 0.40 cents, right? 40 cents plus. And projecting a 17.25. That's like I don't know how many percentage increase is that, but that is, it sounds very enticing, right? So yep, just want to point out here, right, at this point that the high can get higher too, right? You recall, right, Bitcoin at 10K, some people, a few years ago when Bitcoin was at 10K, people say, oh, it's too high. And look at where Bitcoin price is now, right? So high can always get higher, right? So that is something that for you to take note. But the question here is, would it really be as predicted as by the analysts, right? Will it really be so bullish? Will it be hitting those kind of astronomical prices? I will not know for sure, right? I don't have a crystal ball, but let's dive into the technical analysis to just offer some hints, right, on the future price action. Right. So let's go to the price chart again, right? So over here, the price chart for Chronos again on a daily basis, right? So I have some lines drawn here, right? So let me orientate you a bit, right? First of all, we have this downtrend line, right? Right, this downward sloping downtrend line, right? That is tested numerous times. One time here, a few times here, right? And another time here. Right, so the question now is, right, whether this price will be able to break out of this downtrend line. So as of the moment, right, it's still trading below this downtrend line, right? So it's still forming lower highs, right? And for it to restart the uptrend, we want to see higher highs forming, right? As of the moment, it hasn't broken out of this downtrend line yet. So all eyes on it. Once it broke out, you might see further upside. And secondly, we have this upward sloping uptrend line, right? That have been tested quite a few times as well in the past. In fact, just recently it was tested again, right? And it's pretty close to this uptrend line now, right? So it is forming higher lows, which is a good sign on the bullish side of things, right? But it remains to be seen, right, whether this can be a strong support for chronos, right? Whether this uptrend line can be supporting the prices in time to come. Right, and third of all, right, we have this horizontal support line, right? That's also tested a few times, right? First time here, a few times here, and recently as well, right? And also pretty close to the horizontal support now, right? So this horizontal support is actually close to about 0.38 to 0.39, right? US dollars, right? So the question again, right, is whether this support can hold, right? So we have to consider both 2 and 3 in totality, right? They both of them form the support, and if these two can remain supported, right, there could be a bounce for chronos, right? And over here, right, I have two curves, right? So the first of all, we have this is the 50 SMA, and this is the 200-day SMA, or simple moving average, right? So you can see, right, it is still good, right, in the sense that the 50 SMA is still more than the 200 SMA, right? So that's usually implies that on the long term, right, it is still an uptrend, right? But right, one thing to take note, right, it is that the gap is narrowing, right? It seems to be narrowing slightly, right, in recent times, right? Although it's still above the 200-day SMA, it's still considered bullish on the long term, but this gap narrowing is also a concern that you have to watch out for, right? So the question here, right, will be whether this gap will eventually widen, right, between the 50-day and the 200-day SMA, or will it eventually cross over such that the 50-day SMA will fall below the 200-day SMA, right? So that is the question that we have to ask and we have to watch out for in the coming days or weeks. Right. So here's my trading plan, right? Right. So first of all, right, if you're thinking of entering a long position, right, or to buy this coin, right, we have to watch out for that two lines, right, the horizontal support as well as the uptrend line, right. They both have to hold convincingly. They both have to offer sufficient support, right. So if you want to try that, you can do that, yeah. But be sure to put a stop loss in place, right. And it has to be a tight one, because if it breaks this horizontal support uptrend line, right, it could find the next support, which might be some way down. But of course, if you are more prudent, right, you want to have a greater confirmation, right, you should actually wait for the convincing breakout of this symmetrical triangle, right. That means you have to wait for the breakout from this descending trend line, right. Yep, and see that higher highs in prices before you actually place a long position, right? But it really depends on your trading strategy, your trading methodology, right? Another way, right? Some people might prefer, right, is to actually perform one, which is enter long position if the support holds, right? And when they see that the breakout of that symmetrical triangle or the breakout from that descending trend line, right, they will add the positions, right? Add more positions to it, right? And tap on that impending uptrend, right? So this is just my own suggested trading plan. It might not suit everybody, so please do your own due diligence, right? As always, because the market is so volatile nowadays, right? Anything goes. So please do your own due diligence and do your homework carefully, right? But of course, there might be a bull side to it, but there also could be a bear side to this, right? So if there could be a possibility of the uptrend line and horizontal support breaking, right? So if it does break, right, these two do break, right, what will happen is you will find the next support. So over here, I've actually given some potential support levels, right? So the first support could be somewhere in the range of 0.345 to 0.37, yep, somewhere around this region here, right? And the second support, right, would be probably somewhere at the lows here, which is 0.315 to 0.325. Yep. But of course, if this breaks as well, then you will find a next support, which might be some way down again. So do keep a lookout for these support levels. Right. So at this juncture again, right? If you're finding value, right, so far in my sharing, right, do tap on that, like button or the love button, right? So that I will know that you are finding value, and I will continue, to give this content week after week. Yep. So yes, moving on, right? So as always, right, I always do a review of Bitcoin, right? So this week is no exception. I will again do a review of Bitcoin, right? So let's recap again, right, on Bitcoin. And if you haven't checked out already, right, I do give my analysis on Bitcoin every week. Yep. So you can check out my past videos for some of my previous analyses. Yep. So to jog everyone's memory, right, here is the recap for last week, right? So I actually point out 4 things last week, right? So I point out this downtrend line, right? It was still trading below this long-term downtrend line, right? That was the first thing I pointed out. I think the second thing I pointed out was the uptrend line, right? It was a different uptrend line, right? So this was a revised uptrend line then, right? And it was supported by this revised uptrend line. But the third thing I pointed out was also this basically this resistance, right? There was the previous support level, right? So this is at a level about 39,500 to 39,600, right? So you're testing this region as the resistance then, right? And what I mentioned that if you push above this level, right, there might be some potential upside. And the fourth thing I mentioned then, right, was the MACD, right? The gap was closer of narrowing, right? And it looks like there was an impending crossover. So those are the 4 things that I mentioned last week. And let's see what happened right last week. Ever since then, right? So these are the same, almost the same chart with the updated prices from last week. So just like I point out, right, this particular day, right, the first Monday, right, last week on 28th of February. Yep. So you can actually see there's a very big green candle. And what happened, right? So on this very day, right, it convincingly broke past that downtrend line, right? It was well supported by the uptrend line, right? It hit it and bounced up. It actually broke past this resistance line that was drawn, right? Convincingly as well. And we saw that MACD crossover. So all 4 were validated, right? So actually there was this, if you have been monitoring, it carefully, right? You might have, if you are intending to place a trade, right, a short-term trade, right, you might have entered, on the either breaking past that resistance line or breaking past that downtrend line, right? So if you entered then, right, you might have made some good money, right, in just a short span of time, right, in just 2 or 3 days. Right? How do you do that? Right? So assuming right you played safe, right, and you actually entered only after it cleared that downtrend line, right? That is, if you look back at that time, it was on 28th of February, at about 41,800, right? So you might have placed a trade at that point, right? A long trade. And if you've taken profit, right? Because this was the first resistance point, right? That I show here, number 5, right? And that is corresponding to about 44,350. And there's 1 or 2 days later, right? Depending on when you took the profit. Right. And you work out the math, that is actually a 6% gain, right? In just 2 or 3 days, right? Yeah, and that is if you had actually watched last week video, you might have actually gained 6%, if you have took action and placed the trade. But of course, let's see what happened on 28th of February, right? Why did Bitcoin suddenly jump such a significant percentage, right? So here are some news articles taken from various websites. Yep, so the first was on CNBC, right? So, they mentioned that Bitcoin actually jumped 10%, right, after the Treasury imposed new sanctions against the Russia's central bank, right? So this came on the day where, the whole world started to go against Russia, right? It started to, impose bigger sanctions, and then Russia was forced to look for alternative currency, right, as their own Russian currency actually dropped spectacularly, right? And this article from Bloomberg, right, it also states that the Bitcoin volume started to spike, right, as after the sanctions hit the Russia, right? Yep, and because they've tried to look for alternatives, right? A lot of Russians actually move over to cryptocurrency, and Bitcoin being the leader of cryptocurrency, right? It was heavily traded. Yeah, and with the fact that Binance, right, actually rejected the plea by some people, right, to actually block Russian users. So they are given the free will to actually use cryptocurrency, so that actually drives the demand up further. Right, and there are other reasons, right, taken, and this also from the same article, right, which basically give further elaboration, yeah, on why Bitcoin could have risen so much, right? So in times of war, right, people go for safe havens, right, usually gold, yeah, but now Bitcoin, with the advent of Bitcoin, right, it's seen as the digital gold, right? So it's also seen as a sort of gold, right? And some also prefer Bitcoin during unpredictable times. Yeah, and as what I mentioned earlier as well, Russians are also moving their money to crypto as their currency started to depreciate spectacularly. And not just Russia, right? Ukraine, right? Ukraine itself, it also started to transact more in cryptocurrency. It actually raised more than 10 million in cryptocurrency donations as well. So all this drove the demand of Bitcoin. Yep. And also with that news, right, that actually drove the growth on 28th of February. But now let's look at the future, right? If you have missed that trade, yep, doesn't matter. We can always look forward, right, and see what happens next for Bitcoin, right? So with that price action now, right, it actually came back slightly after that 1 or 2 days spike, right? It actually fallen back. It actually made a pullback ever since, right? So we had to draw a new downtrend line, right? Because that old downtrend line was invalidated now, right? So to connect the swing highs, the new swing highs now. So now this new downtrend line, right? The question here would be, would price be able to break past this line, right? So now it's currently resisted by this line. Yep, and the question would be whether it can eventually break beyond this downtrend line in future. And we have the same uptrend line here, right? It's still the same uptrend line. It hasn't been broken, right? It is approaching this uptrend line again, right? So the question again will be whether this uptrend line would remain the strong support. And now we have this upper resistance line that we basically took profit from. Yep. So now this is the resistance, right? That is recently tested, right? And the question will be whether it can actually break past this in future, right? If it break past this in future, there could be further upside, as you see higher highs. Yep, and we have this level again, right? It actually, this was the previous resistance level that was drawn, that was cleared on 28th of February, right? But now it has pulled back and it is challenging that resistance again, right? So it's testing this resistance level again, and it remains to be seen whether it can actually break this immediate resistance, right? And over here I've drawn a few support lines, right? So yep, I actually listed them down here. So in any case, right, if the uptrend line and the horizontal support, right, actually breaks, right, that there could be you try to search for the next support, right, and there could be several levels of support, right, that it might be searching for, right. So the first support could be immediately at 37,000, right, thereabouts. Yep, and the second support around 36,300 to 36,400. Yep, the support is somewhere a bit lower here, right? 34,100 to 34,400. And the fourth will be at the low over here, right? At about 32,000 to 33,000. Yep. So these are just some support level for you to keep an eye out for in case this uptrend line actually is broken. Yep. So, that concludes my sharing for the Bitcoin, right? And if you love what I share so far, or you like what I share so far, right, do tap on that love or like button, right? So that I'll continue giving this weekly sharing to all of you. Right. So, some reminders before I end off, right? So first of all, right, if you haven't joined me already, I have a Facebook group, right, which I shared last week, right? Basically, yeah, I've shared numerous things on my Facebook group, right? I have this position sizing calculator that I personally use to enter some of my trades, right? And I think it might be useful for some of you, right? So you can join me on my Facebook group, right? So you can get access to some of these calculators, some of these resources, right? And also share, my insights, my opinions on other instruments, in stocks, in futures, and so on and so forth, right? So you can join me there. Yeah, but just do take note that you do have to key in some, you do have to answer some questions, right? Before we can give you admission to the group. Right, but some of you I realize have some difficulty in getting that position sizing calculator that I sent or I promoted last week, right? And you only like that position sizing calculator, right? And you don't want to join, and you have difficulty joining my group, right? So I given you an alternative, right? I actually pasted the alternative in the previous video as well, but you can actually click on this link, right? I also paste the link in this video after this video ends. You can click on this link, and you can also download the calculator here. Right, and for those who join me for the first time, right, I do have my social media pages, right? So you can join me or follow me, right, on some of my social media pages, right, on my Facebook page, Instagram, and Twitter, right? And last but not least, right, if you like my sharing for today, right, don't forget to give this video a like or a love, right? And also leave a comment down below, right, on what you think of my sharing so far. So is there any areas for improvement, or you got any questions, right? Do leave it in the comments, and I can follow up accordingly, right? And you like this video as well, right? Do share this video so that more people can benefit, right, from this sharing. Right. So if that's all, yep, I guess that will be all for tonight. Thanks everyone for joining me tonight. Yep. And I'll see you guys all next week at the same time, 9:30 p.m. Yep. Stay safe and have a good night. Goodbye.